It is not yet clear who shot Donald Trump, why, and what's the wherefore, but some things are already eerily, uncannily familiar to those of us who lived through the murder, the nightmare on Elm Street in 1963, the murder of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, the murder of Malcolm X, the murder of Senator Robert F. Kennedy on his way to the White House in 1968. One thing is for sure, I predicted it all on here. In fact, I predicted it on the Red Pill, a new program out of Beirut just 2 days before it happened. If they cannot stop Donald Trump any other way, they will stop him with extreme prejudice, and they very nearly did so. Was the killer really 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, or was he just a patsy? We'll never know, because the Secret Service blew his brains out, but only after he had managed to wing the former president, future president of the United States of America in the ear. We'll never know if it really was Thomas Crooks of English and Scottish parentage, whose family identify as Jewish. That's all we know about him. 20 years old, really? And he managed to get onto a roof 120 yards from the President of the United States in waiting and loose off 3 shots, one of them getting so close as to draw blood. Was he really a sole gunman? Ever heard that before? Was he a patsy? Ever heard that before? And who killed him? And why did they wait so long? The audience were screaming at the police and the Secret Service that there was a man on the roof with a rifle. That was, in a way, a clue of what was about to happen. And who were these midget, dwarf Secret Service operatives? 30% of the women, to fulfill the political correctness quotient, who seemed utterly out of their depth in the aftermath. Trump handled it all magnificently, of course, and surely guaranteed his victory in November. In fact, rendering otiose our poll this evening about George Clooney's article in the New York Times calling on Joe Biden to step down. A week's a long time in politics when it comes to writing polls. The truth is, they will not now remove Joe Biden because nobody else wants the job of going down to a landslide defeat like the one scored by Ronald Reagan in the aftermath of his assassination attempt, when only one state in the Union voted for his opponent, whose name is now long forgotten, even by me. Nobody wants to be the man that gets trounced, gets swept away in a tsunami of red, as that's going to happen in November, as sure as eggs is eggs. So, Joe, at least you are secure, as long as you don't come to any accidents either. The incident, as it was described in the CNN, the fall, as it was described in other mainstream media outlets, the noises, loud bangs, all the other euphemisms that took place in Pennsylvania were all a cover for the fact that the deep state was at least complicit in the attempt to stop Joe Biden, and not just the deep state. When Joe Biden said, as he has said repeatedly, that Donald Trump has to be put into the bullseye, when they described all of them, Obama, Biden, Pelosi said, this is no ordinary election. This man has to be stopped. He must be stopped. They were all dog whistling for a 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, if indeed it was he. They were all crying out for a gunman to step forward. And as is now being speculated, The Secret Service, in fact, did see this gunman on the roof, but they did not open fire on him before he had opened fire at Donald Trump. When Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, the sundry commentators of the so-called mainstream media built Trump up into Hitler, they were crying out for someone to stop Hitler before he managed to get himself re-elected back into power, only to build concentration camps for them, only to weaponize law enforcement against them, only to clear out the CIA, the FBI, the other three-letter agencies that are guilty of such high crimes and misdemeanors ever since Donald Trump was elected in 2016. The Russiagate hoax, which paralyzed America for year after year, all built on nothing. An attempt to suggest that Trump was the Manchurian candidate, that the Russians had compromat on him, and that he could not be trusted with the stewardship of the Republic. These high crimes and misdemeanors are now 8 years on, and they have never stopped. The weaponizing of the words of hookers, sorry, Piers Morgan, adult entertainers, the ridiculous kangaroo courts erected throughout the land on mortgage issues to try and criminalize Donald Trump, put him behind bars, the better to disadvantage his re-election prospects. All of this led to that. All of the foregoing led to the blood on the stage in Pennsylvania yesterday. If Trump was really Hitler, why wouldn't you stop him? If Trump was really Hitler, why would you be praying for him today in the Situation Room in the White House? If Trump was really Hitler, why would you be praying for his health today? Why would you be expressing your solidarity with Hitler today? If somebody could have taken out Hitler, then they would have become the biggest hero in world history. But the facts are, Donald Trump is not Hitler. Donald Trump did not clear out the swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. He appointed its worst reptiles right all around him in the White House in his first administration. Donald Trump didn't stop the wars. He continued the wars. He rained down cruise missiles on Syria. He murdered General Soleimani and his friends in the airport at Baghdad. Didn't bat an eyelid. When Barack Obama says today that political violence can never be acceptable, America's built on political violence. It deals out political violence, assassination, murder, mayhem, subversion, civil war, color revolutions. That's what America is made of. What do you mean, Barack, that political violence can never be accepted? You murdered American citizens with cruise missiles, with American passports in their pockets in Yemen and elsewhere. Political violence is endemic in the United States of America, and all kinds of violence turn it into the horror show that it is. As always, I reserve the greater part of my ire for the pygmies that rule the European democracies, who have tied our destiny to a horror show, to a helter-skelter towards civil war and perhaps oblivion. You have tied our fortunes, our futures, even our lives to Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You sophisticates, former bank officials, former professors, graduates of the world's best universities, you idiots, you educated idiots, have ruined Europe, tied our economy, and tied our very existence to a United States now spiraling out of control. If that bullet had hit not the ear of Donald Trump, but the back of the head of Donald Trump. There would now be a raging civil war in the United States. And you want us to lead them, to be led by them over the cliff into World War III? Are you maniacs, or is it you that's compromised? Is there compromise on you? Because it is difficult for sentient beings in Western countries to work out why you would tie us with a chain, a ball and chain, to the fortunes of a country rapidly becoming a banana republic without the bananas. Well, by the grace of God, by the turn of a head, by a stroke of luck, literally a whisker, that bullet did not hit the back of the head of Donald Trump. In any case, some new messiah figure from the right would have quickly emerged. Donald Trump Jr. would have romped to power. Melania, if she'd been born in the United States. Trump's daughter, any one of his family. Barron, a schoolboy, would have swept to power in November, because America is in the grip of a messianic need for a leader of a cult. That's what it's in the grip of. And who's to blame for it? Well, it's the same group of people that are to blame for the rise and rise of Marine Le Pen, for the rise and rise of Geert Wilders, for the rise and rise of the AFD, for the rise and rise of Nigel Farage. It's the same people, the centrists, who have so ruined all of our countries, our economies, our culture, our societies, that people are casting around, looking for a messianic figure to turn to that will put America first, put France first, put Britain first, put Germany first, make Germany great again. What? Make France great again, and so on and so forth. It is the utter, dismal, unutterably obvious failure of centrism that has bankrupted our countries, not only economically, though it has done exactly that, but bankrupted our sense of ourselves. These globalists in the grip of the WEF, Klaus, whatever his name is, George Soros, and all these Bill Gates, and all these other plutocrats seeking to craft a future for our people in which country does not matter, faith does not matter, family does not matter. The things that actually do matter are the things that they have sought to excise. We are in a big mess. Compare and contrast, if you will. Cast your mind back to my conversation with Piers Morgan, when he could not fathom that I could trust Vladimir Putin more than I could trust any of these Western so-called leaders. Look at society in Russia. Look at the cohesion. Look at the national unity. Look at the bustling economy. Look at the bright future of the Russian people, of the Chinese people. Look at the social cohesion. Are they murdering their leaders? Are they murdering each other in vast number? Are they losing their religion? Are they losing their patriotism? Are they losing their culture? It is us that is losing or has already lost all of that. Now, America has nothing to do with me. What happens in it is entirely the property of the people of America, but God gave them such a country. Well, they stole it actually, but God created the greatest country on earth. Beneficent, bountiful, beautiful beyond compare, from sea to shining sea, from the redwoods to the Gulf. What a place. I've traveled the length and breadth of it. I've given speeches all over it. In my veins runs the blood of my great-grandmother who emigrated from the United States, from New York City to Scotland, getting on the wrong boat, most probably. I care about America, though it is not my business. What is my business is that my government and the government before it and the governments before that and the European governments nearest to me have sold everything to a dysfunctional country that could even yet ignite in civil war, just like 1861, could ignite into mass murder amongst themselves. I want to feel sorry if that happens. I don't want to be dragged down into the vortex with them, should it do so. Now, not one, but two British election results are now in the hands of the police. I'll be speaking tomorrow night in Rochdale at 7 p.m. in the Castlemere Centre in Rochdale. I'll be launching the fight back. And that fight back will take many forms. It will take several forms, some of them judicial. We have submitted to the Greater Manchester Police a file alleging electoral fraud in the narrow victory of the Labour candidate Paul Hu against me on the 4th of July in the British general election. I can't go into details now for obvious reasons, but the police are investigating the matter as is their duty, the allegations therein as is their duty, and I'm sure they will do so without fear or favour. Just as they will, I presume, in the complaint by the Labour grandee, John Ashworth, who has submitted his own file of complaints about his defeat in the general election on the 4th of July. Mr. Ashworth, a big friend of Israel, a key figure in the Keir Starmer firmament, can make his own allegations and will have to stand by them, stand over them, as indeed I will myself. But the way in which the Starmer Labour leadership has treated the fact that in huge swathes of the formerly loyal Labour electorate, millions of voters deserted them, reducing them to 600,000 votes fewer than Jeremy Corbyn got in 2019 in what Labour leaders, today's Labour leaders, described as the worst election result in Labour's history. Worst. They scored 600,000 votes fewer, and they scored millions of votes fewer than Jeremy Corbyn obtained in 2017. The fact that amongst young people, amongst Muslim people, they have lost millions of votes, lost 5 seats to Gaza independence, were narrowly, very closely, almost defeated in several others, including my own, appears not to have caused a single moment of soul searching. Not one moment. When they lost the Red Wall, they said they would address the concerns of the Red Wall voters. When it comes to the voters who've deserted them over the slaughter in Gaza, they are reduced to calling us thugs. It was thuggery that lost them those 5 parliamentary seats. It was thuggery that almost cost them many, many more. It was thuggery and intimidation that led to their catastrophic decline in formerly loyal voting blocs. None of them seem to have a single idea of how to handle us. Well, tune in to my meeting tomorrow night, the Fight Back in Rochdale, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be the mother of all talk shows.